Hi, this is Michelle Roberts from Roberts Ranch and Gardens, and we're going to talk about compost. And this here is a picture of the finished project. Rich, nutrient-dense, black gold, the best thing you can use to supplement either sandy or clay soils. Composting is the process of turning organic material or plant waste into rich, dark, humus soil. And it is a really fabulous way to return again to the earth those things that we have used and taken from her, and then give back to her again the things that we no longer need. In order to be successful composting, you need to follow this recipe. First, you need the addition of organic matter or plant waste, and that's anything that has grown, including paper materials or wood chips or sawdust. That can also be added. Then you can add manures if you want, that's optional, but by adding manures you also add nitrogen to that pile, and that's excellent because in the decomposition process nitrogen is used. So if you don't add it in the form of manures, you might be deficient in nitrogen when you're done with your compost. Air and water, you might want to set a sprinkler on there and add water, or just depend on the rain. Soil needs to be added to your pile, like you see Tessa doing here. Every time we add something to our pile, some organic material, we also cover it with soil. This soil is full of microorganisms, and they act as inoculants, and when they come in contact with those leaves and all that plant waste, they begin that process of decomposition. And then the turning that you do, which you must do as regularly as you can, is what allows the air again to come into the pile. And then if you have enough rain, you can go ahead and depend on that for your moisture, but you do need to keep the pile moist in order for the temperature to rise, and you need that temperature above 130 degrees for a number of days in a row. This is a pile that is being turned. It is not a pile that's ready to use yet. We still have about 8 months to go on this pile before we're sure that the weed seeds are no longer viable and that we have really roasted out any of the pathogens or negative things that we don't want in that soil. And then we have this pile here, which is the pile we're using. We screen it when we use it on our beds. We just put that screen on the wheelbarrow and sift it out, and works real well for us. We also keep the pile that is being used covered because we don't want any of the nutrients leached out of that pile. So whether you're working in large bins like we have here, or in very small bins, or just a tumbler or whatever you have, the recipe here is the one that you need to follow in order to be successful. Now there's many people who don't have the ability to have their own compost pile, or maybe aren't interested in composting themselves but would like to benefit from compost in their beds. You can do that by visiting a composting center, and many cities these days have these great composting centers where the people of a community participate in bringing all their plant waste to this location, and they just sort of donate it. It's free to go and dump off your grass, your plant clippings, shrubs, garden waste, flower bed waste, whatever has grown, and you can take it there. And the owners or the people who run these big areas, they use huge backhoes to pile it all up and turn it and create bio green compost, even fish compost, and really some fabulous stuff that you can put out onto your beds again. The thing that we have to be careful of if we participate in these city compost programs is that we not put extremely toxic, chemical-ridden green waste into those city compost piles. And now that's my own request, that we keep them as clean as we can. If you got that kind of stuff, take it somewhere else. Take it to the dump, or just dispose of it in another way, in a safer way, where you're not bringing all that junk and garbage that is so toxic and hard to actually get rid of through the composting process, and then having everybody have a problem with it. Okay, so here we are going to visit with someone who runs the compost center in southern Utah Valley. Today we're here with Cade Eva, who is the head guy over the composting operations in South Utah County. And he's going to help us understand what happens to the green waste that we bring here from our yards and our gardens. Okay, so we'll first of all start with the huge pile of all these green things and all the stuff that comes out of gardens. And is there anything that's not allowed here?
Treated lumber and sod.
Okay, so you can't bring your sod, you can't bring painted wood, or even like
or
a
pressure
treated can't come here. Everything else can come. Okay, that's great. And even my old posts that are not painted, but they're in my fields. Okay, all right. And so then, what happens to it after? You know, we always see the big, huge backhoes pushing it up in a great big pile. Then what happens to it?
Then we feed it to a tub grinder, and it grinds it into a finer product. And then we ship it out to our facility in Bayview, and that's where we make the compost.
Okay, so everything goes on the other side of the lake. You must have a big operation there.
Yes.
Okay. What do you do with it?
We can turn it into one of three products. We make bio, which is our sludge from the sewer plant mixed in with it. We have a green waste, which has got food product mixed in with it, and then a fish product.
Okay, then I'm really interested in this fish product. You have compost with fish in it?
Yes.
And where do you get the fish from?
There is a netting program in Utah Lake right now, and they are bringing the fish to us.
And why don't they want the fish? Why are they getting rid of the fish? So are they just pulling the carp out? Is that what they're doing? Oh, the carp. They're trying to get rid of the carp.
Trying to get rid of the carp.
And so they're taking it to you guys.
Yes.
And so you're creating a fish fertilizer compost kind of thing.
Yes.
Oh, that's a real awesome product. Is that, are people liking that, or is it new?
The people that get it like it.
The people that get it like it. Okay, yeah, I might want to get in line for that one. That sounds great. Okay, so then you talked about a green waste product too. So tell me about that.
It is for manufacturing, like Stouffer's or Nestle's. All the excess stuff that they lose, we take care of.
Okay, now Stouffer's and Nestle's are manufacturing companies in our area that create frozen foods, and so they'll have a lot of waste product that they don't use that is from plant material. Is that what you take from them? Like their noodles that they don't use?
Yes.
Okay, things like that. Okay, and so that gets mixed in with the stuff that...
With the compost. Usually everything's about a 5-to-1, sometimes a 6-to-1 ratio. Compost to whatever we're adding to it.
Okay, now tell me about the bio. I know a lot of people are really nervous about the bio because it's human waste. And granted, we have composts with manure in it, but animals don't really eat what humans eat. Although they are being injected all the time with antibiotics too, and all kinds of junk too. A lot of people are really concerned about what's in the compost. So tell me, where do you get the human waste, and what happens to before it gets to you, and then what makes it safe after you're done with it?
Okay, we receive the sludge from Spanish Fork water treatment plant and Provo water treatment plant. They go through a process to turn it from raw sewage into Class B. And that's a process to significantly reduce pathogens. I'm not 100% sure how they do it. And for me, when I get it, it's Class B, and I take it to Class A, and that's a process to further reduce pathogens, and that's done through climate temperature. Basically, we heat the windows up, and the state regulation says that we have to heat it up for 15 days at above 131 degrees. It has to be turned in 5 days.
Wow.
5 times in 15 days.
Okay, so you're turning, the temperature is high, and it's over 130 degrees.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And so is that what you guys are doing?
Yeah, we're actually taking it to 90 days.
So you're turning and heating for 90 days. And how do you maintain that temperature for 90 days?
water and air, we keep turning. We have a scarab that straddles the windrow with a big drum that turns it, lets air into it. We will add carbon to it. Basically, our excess, after we go to a screening process, all the big stuff that we can't sell, we will incorporate that back into the windrow.
So you got this big machine that straddles your windrows, and windrows are just rows of this compost, right?
Yes, ours are about 18 feet at the base, about 7 feet high, and about 5-6 feet in the
Okay, all right. And so it just goes on down the row, turning it.
Yes, we turn it. In the state regulation, when it's going through its 15 days, it has to be turned 5 times, and then we turn it accordingly after that. When the temperatures start to drop, we keep track of the temperatures daily. And when the temperatures start to drop, we will turn it, add water to it, whatever we feel like we need to do to bring the temperature back up.
Okay, I've used the bio and love it. And the one thing I really like about the bio compared to my own compost, because I actually have huge compost bins myself, is I can never get rid of the weed seeds in my operation. And so when I put those out there, I am weeding and weeding and weeding. And so I either I'm not turning it enough, and I'm not getting that temperature up there.
You're not keeping the temperature for long for being on basket.
Not keeping the temperature for long enough. So in order to do that, I've got to turn it more, get a little water on there.
Yes.
And
also add carbon to it. That helps a lot.
In what form? Just
wood chips is the best.
Really?
Yes.
And so how do you keep your nitrogen levels high if you're adding wood chips?
Our nitrogen levels are never a problem because people mainly dump their grass here.
Oh, okay.
And that's where we get our nitrogen from. So we actually have to keep adding carbon to it. Getting nitrogen is not a problem.
Okay, because I know nitrogen is used in the decomposition process. Okay, so so when it comes out of the sludge and it's a B product, you guys turn it into an A product through this process of cooking, time,
and temperature,
and adding the water, the oxygen,
and then oxygenate. Yes, that's all the turner does. It mixes it and allows oxygen to get in.
So it's just sort of a natural process of cleaning up the soil.
Yeah, we're just speeding up what happens naturally.
Okay, I love that. Okay, and so then how can we be sure that there's not all this harmful stuff in there?
The state requires us to do 6 tests a year, and them six tests involve 7 samples of each. And so on our first test of the 7, and them 7 tests equal 1. Them 7 samples equal 1 test.
Okay, it requires 7 samples for a test.
Yes. And the first one we will do a heavy metal, and then a fecal chloroform, and then percentage of solids. The reason we do the percentage of solids is so we can break everything down into dry metric tons at the end of the year for state recording purposes. Fecal chloroform is the same. We can do a salmonella test too, and that's basically how many parts per million of fecal chloroform there is. And then our heavy metals is our zinc, lead, copper, all that stuff. So we do 7 metals tests a year, and then.
And so it has to all come into a certain, number for each of those tests. So do you ever have problems with it not being where it needs to be, or need to make adjustments, or is everything always okay?
We have failed tests before, and what the state requires us to do is we have to take that windrow out and start it back over the whole process again.
We just start it over.
Yep.
And does it clean it up?
We've never failed a test twice.
Okay, that's really good to know.
Yes. And the tests are really, we have to be less than 10 parts per million.
Okay, so it's very, very small amounts. Okay, and actually we're not really eating the soil anyway.
No.
But it is being absorbed by plants that we might eat. Okay, well, Kate, thank you so much for visiting with me, and the information you've shared is really great. I know that for me, it really allays a lot of my concerns, a lot of my fears, about participating in the composting system that you have going on. And I wanted to encourage people to bring out your stuff and let's get it out here so that we can return it to something of great value. Black gold, isn't that kind of what the bio is?
That's what they call it.
That's what they call it. And I know that it covers the flower beds, lines the streets in Spanish Fork, and they are incredibly beautiful every single year. And so I know I use it in my gardens when I don't want to weed a bed. I come and get this stuff. And while it might not have the fungi and the microbes and stuff alive and well like, I know that I have them in my soil. And so as I put this on the top, they just get going and they love it and they work through it, bring it down in and start living in it. So it's pretty clean stuff, and it's very exciting, and I can't wait to use the fish compost. So thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Here on the left is what they call bio. It's a black compost. This is the one with the human waste that is treated and inspected and sold to the public. And this has the human waste in it, and everybody buys it. It's perfect for gardens and to grow plants. Okay, and then the pile over here is what they call green waste. And it's also good for flowers, garden beds. Some people like it, and it's called green waste, and it's 80% green waste and 20% food waste.
Okay, so
and
it still has
no human waste in that.
but still filled with lots of micronutrients.
Yes, it's all treated and inspected and everything.
Okay, so that's good stuff too.
Yes.
So you have your choice. You don't
Yes.
Which goes first? Which is more popular?
I believe the bio is more popular than the green waste.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's the person that wants it. Different people have different ideas.
Okay.
Okay, and then this other pile over here is what they call mulch.
Uh-huh.
And people use that for decoration around garden, flower beds, shrubbery,
Helps keep the weeds out.
and help keep
Maintains
the weeds out.
moisture.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff. And it also has nutrients in it.
Yeah, but
Very little.
Yeah.
Very little. Okay. Well, that's really great, Jerry.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate this
Okay.
interview and tour of this composting facility here in South Utah County. So here we are, full circle. This is that black gold, the biocompost from our city composting program. Now, whether you are creating your own compost or you are also participating in a city composting program, it is the best way to amend clay soils or sandy soils and is full of nutrient-dense, humus organic material, one of the best things to grow in a more natural way. Happy composting!